It's Friday and it's Seniors Matter. I'm Brenda Charles Edwards, and I'm the host of Seniors Matter. As you know, we're here every Friday at 12:30 Pacific Time on www.rainieravenueradio.world, your community radio station. You can also listen to us on YouTube, Facebook, and of course on the Rainier Avenue Radio app. We feature interviews with people that provide services or have valuable information for seniors, their families, and the community. Do you need financial documents notarized? Are you a person that needs documents read to you for clarity or completion? Or if you're in the hospital and you're or an assisted living home, just give me a call at Black Orchid Notary 206-683-2636. So I'm really excited. Of course, I'm usually excited, I think. But anyway, my guest today is Dean Eason-Williams. Dean is a good friend, and he's also a man of knowledge and wealth of knowledge. I don't know about his financial wealth. But anyway, he's the one I want you to hear. Dean, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That is wonderful. Dean, recently I've had people ask me, so as a notary, what do you do besides just stamp papers? And my first thought was to laugh and shake my head and say, you just don't know. Right. Then I had another thought. I'm going to call an expert that I know who is the author of the book, From Trust to Transfer, a practical guide for notaries conducting estate signings. He also owns a notary loan signing business. He helps notaries reach their highest potential, their apex from live sessions, loan and estate signings. Yes, I'm revved up.
It's Friday.
Their mission through his company, Apex Mentorship. So the one and only Dean Eason-Williams, please tell us what exactly is a notary public and why do we even need notaries?
Wow, that's a mouthful. That's the question of the hour, right? Well, first and foremost, a notary is indeed a state commissioned public official, believe it or not. And our role is to help prevent fraud by making sure that the person signing the documents are indeed who they say they are, and that they understand what they're signing. Because if you don't understand what you're signing, don't sign it. Please do not. And also, we have to make sure that they're doing it willingly and they're not being coerced or not being forced otherwise to sign that. So really what we do is we don't approve documents. We protect the signing process.
Mm-hmm. So what actually happens during a notarization, the signing process?
Well, we first of all verify identification. We must have, in most states, it must be a government photo issued unexpired ID. Now, some states do have a few, some states do have some sort of statute that says, okay, a certain time period is fine. But here in North Carolina, if you're expired, you're expired. We can't accept it. But we actually make sure, we have to make sure that they're not being coerced. And we also, if necessary, depending on the type of notarization that we're performing, we may have to actually place them under oath, which is a jurat. Sometimes it's an acknowledgement where they're just acknowledging their signature and there's no oath required. And then we must complete a notarial certificate. A lot of states actually require us to keep a journal. And that's about it.
Well, you know, it's interesting when you were talking about the oath. I was at a signing a couple days ago. I thought it was going to be a short signing. It was at a hospital, but 2.5 hours later, we wrap up. But what was interesting was the fact that it was, a power of attorney for healthcare and finances, and they didn't have the notarial document, wording document, whether it was supposed to be an acknowledgement or a jurat. So then I had one of each and I got them out and I said, which one of these would you like to use?
Right.
Says,
now, why did you have to do that?
I'm not a lawyer.
Exactly, because those two certificates, as the notary, the documents are actually prepared by either the signer or someone else. Because we don't prepare documents, we're not paralegals or document prep services. Now, there are some notaries out there that are dual trained and certified and such, but typically you're normally going to have a notary, and you, as a notary, cannot actually choose that certificate. And so, typically, what I will do is I make sure that the one that they need is actually in the ones that I present to them. And I say, I need for you to check and see what wording of these certificates, the notarial certificates, which we call loose leaf certificates, which one of these do you need for your documents? Because we can't choose that for them.
Right. And it was funny because they just kind of looked at me and I said, I'm sorry, but anyway.
That's outside of our scope, because that actually, if you actually choose the document for them, it puts the notary in a position of practicing law and providing legal advice. And that's called UPL, unauthorized practice of law. And in the book, I actually go into great detail about avoiding that unauthorized practice of law, because we can't explain documents, we can't define them, we can't, any of that. We have to stay within our lane. And that's really one of the key things that notaries sort of fail at. And you mentioned oath. A lot of notaries even omit doing the oath, which is insane.
I know, I've heard that too, and I was like, "You say what?"
Right. And I mean, a lot of notaries actually feel awkward administering an oath to other people, right? But as a state commissioned public official, if the document actually says signed and sworn before me, that oath must be administered. Otherwise, it's an improper notarization.
Well, when I mentor new notaries, I always tell them, make sure you have your Washington State Handbook with you. It is in paperback, and you keep that in your bag. And
absolutely,
I have pages bent back, things highlighted. I mean, because there's some folks that, and I can't, is it the sovereign citizens or something?
Sovereign citizens. I was going to put that. Oh my goodness. I was going to mention that to you. And yes, sovereign citizens will try and get away with all kinds of things. And sometimes it's difficult to actually figure it out. But the wording, and as notaries, we are not concerned with the content of the documents. We're looking for that notarial block. We look for blanks. If there are blanks, we need to make sure that those blanks are completed, because if you actually have someone sign a document and there are blanks there, guess what? Now, later on, someone can fraudulently go and fill in those blanks. But you have to make sure that, and like you were saying, the notarial block, a lot of states have certain strict requirements of what must be there, elements of that notarial block: the venue, the date, the principal's name, or names, if there's number of pages it might be there. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I as you are a member of the National Notary Association, and I had recently ordered some more documents, and I have this one for the jurat that talks about who the people are. You've already done that part, above, but this is extra because some states require it. Mine doesn't, but I use it, and it asks how many pages, or is anybody else signing that's not on the original, signing part.
Yep.
It's like, and I was filling it out that day, and the lady said, "Well, what are you doing?" So I showed it to her, and I said, "This is for your safety."
Exactly.
As well as mine in a way, but it's for your safety. And she goes, "Oh."
In North Carolina, in North Carolina, we have, and that's that optional block. And it's the official notarial certificates for the state of North Carolina. And it has that optional. And it lets you put the name of the document, the number of pages, the name of the principals who are signing, and the date of the document, which, some of that is up top. But because it is indeed a loose leaf certificate, which we attach by stapling it there in the upper left-hand corner, that is an extra layer of protection, so that if someone tries to rip that apart, that is already written at the bottom of that. And by the way, part of our job as a notary is to prevent fraud. And so that's why I prefer to use the one that has the optional block at the bottom for that extra layer of protection.
Absolutely. So then, Dean, what would you say is the biggest misunderstandings that people have about notaries?
Um, I think probably I'm sure they have a lot of different misconceptions. But I think the biggest thing is that we legalize documents or that we are of an attorney type nature. Really, what we do is we verify the identity of the signer and we make sure that the document is complete. We complete the notarization. We're not concerned, like I said, with the content of the documents. We can't tell you that the document is true or whatever is contained within the document is accurate or whatever. And we cannot say that we're legalizing documents. We just verify identities and make sure that the document is completed properly.
Absolutely. If you're just tuning in, you're listening live to Seniors Matter with your host, Brenda Charles Edwards, on www.rainieravenueradio.world, your community radio station. We're here on Fridays at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. Do you know what's the best legacy we can give ourselves and our loved ones? Join me on Zoom or in person for a group or individual session on legacy end-of-life planning. You may contact me at 206-683-2636. Now back to my guest, Dean Eason-Williams. He's the notary expert in Charlotte, North Carolina, offering mobile notary and nationwide signing services. He's a member of the National Notary Association, a certified loan signing agent through the loan signing system, and a certified notary trust delivery agent. Yay, go Dean.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Dean, why did you become a notary?
Oh my goodness, we don't have enough time to really go into that big long story. But sort of the smaller condensed version. I love rules and structure, and the notary profession is chock full of that. There's some gray area, but very little. It's either right or wrong, on or off, black or white, whatever. And I love that. But in addition to that aspect of it, I love helping people. I love meeting people. And the longer version is that when my dad passed, I had to go through 2 years and 2 months of just pure agony. And that's not normally the word that I would use, but it was
you are alive.
agony. So doing this, I left the world of IT and web development and social media management for small businesses and such. I was a college professor for 15 years in IT. And so, it was like when I went through that, it was like, I can't be an attorney. I could if I wanted to, go through tons of years of additional education. Right. I'm not doing that. I'm 55. I'm over that aspect of things. Really. But what I did determine at that point was I could be a part of the solution. I could be a part of the solution of helping people get their estates and trusts signed and get them protected, within the right lane, the attorneys or whomever preparing the documents. And then I go in and do what we call the signing ceremony, which is making sure that their trusts and their wills and their powers of attorney, their, HIPAA authorizations, end of life, advance directive, living will, as it's called, making sure that all those documents are in place and ready for them and to protect them. And really part of it is the joy of watching that sigh of relief where it's just like, the weight is lifted and boom, you're good. If you get, thrown under a bus or whatever, everything is good to go. Everybody's going to know what to do.
Absolutely. And I became a notary in 1992, and I wanted to be involved in public service, but I didn't want to have to run for an office.
Didn't want to be a politician, not at all, but help serve the public.
No. So then I found out about being a notary public. And I went, oh, okay, I can do this.
Right.
So I've been doing it along with a few other things since then.
Of course. And a lot of people think of, a notary, they think that we're just a stamp. They think that, we're just the person that, they work for me or not. No, we are state commissioned. We are a public official.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't realize really what we go through to become a notary public. Some states don't have any training at all or whatever. And
Mhm.
I'm a little skeptical of, some of the knowledge that those folks may have, but they can contact me and I'll train them. But anyway, um, and
I know
help
you
them
will.
along their journey. But like, for example, in North Carolina, we must take an 8-hour course at a local community college. We have to pass an exam. You go through an application process, a background screening, you name it. They put you through the ringer to actually become a notary in the great old North state of North Carolina. And
Mhm.
I appreciate that so much because we are dealing with documents that are extremely important in people's lives. I know a lot of your listeners probably deal with, powers of attorney,
Mhm.
HIPAA, and I keep saying HIPAA, being able to actually speak to officials or to doctors and care staff and those types of things. And we need to make sure that those documents are not fraudulent, and also that um, these seniors, are not being pressured to actually do something that is not really what they want. And I've been in certain signings, and I'm sure you probably have as well, where
Mhm.
you're sitting there and you're with what we call the principal, the person who is signing, and you've got a son or a daughter or somebody else in the room. Well, we said we were gonna da da da. Whoa, please! I'm speaking with her or him,
Mhm.
them,
Yeah.
and that undue influence, that's not allowed. And that's part of the protection of such an important decision that's in that document, so that we, as the independent, unbiased individual, we have no interest in the documents. Our interest is making sure you are who you say you are and that you're not being forced to do something against your own will. And that's part of the oath that we administer as well, just to make sure that they are who they say they are and that they understand they're signing something that is of extreme importance and it's got legal consequences down the road. Granted, we don't legalize it, but it is of a legal nature down the road. So, very important role that the notary does.
Absolutely. And when you said that, that brought to mind a notarization I had where I went to a nursing home and there was a room full of folks, and the mother was in, the patient. So anyway, there's all these documents, but before I even looked at the documents, I always when I go to, especially when I go to nursing homes or assisted facilities, I
Mhm.
always ask if they know why I'm here.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
then I ask them, what's today's date
Mhm.
and who's the president of the United States at this time?
Right. And why do you do that? So that you're actually making sure that they are of sound mind, they are
Yes.
oriented. And one of the struggles and obstacles, if you will, when you're in a situation like that is medicine, right? If they
Right.
are
Yes.
medicated, they're not they're not really able to understand exactly what they're doing. And of course, some of the other things are, you may have to actually sit around and wait because they've gone for a procedure or they've gone for
Yes.
an x-ray or whatever. So, I mean, you talk about a 2-hour appointment. Sometimes it becomes that.
Mhm.
But the key thing is just to make sure that they know exactly what they're doing, and that they understand the document. I'll actually look at them and say, "Do you understand why I'm here today?" And they're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
you came to visit." Well,
Yeah.
true,
Oh, yeah,
but
I did. Mhm.
I
Yep.
did. I did. I'm visiting for a reason, but and I'll say, do you understand the document that you're about to sign today? Yeah, he told me I had to sign it. Ooh, that begins that red flag, right? Because it's
Mhm.
like, wait, they're being for, and one of the ones that I did, the son was there, and he was like, "Well, mom, we said we were going to do this." Okay. All right. You said, and I actually ended up having to go back because I found out she was on medication, and I was like, I can't do that. And so I spoke with the medical staff there and said, look, she needs to sign this document. It wasn't anything that was going to be questioned or whatever. It was a specific document. And I said, but I need her to be of sound mind and not, whatever. And so they said, well, if you come back tomorrow at such and such time, that's before she gets her medication. Excellent.
Mhm.
Do it. That's great. And I've also had other instances where that ID, we talked about the expiration of the ID. I've had people before, well, my ID expired last week. Can you just swing it a little bit? It's fine. Just look the other way. No. You know why? Because I'm not going to risk my commission. I'm not going to, just for you to sign a little document, I'm not going to risk, what I do. And it's crazy how some people will try and get you to do that kind of stuff.
Oh, I know. Well, that story I sort of started to tell you, when I realized that she did not know what was going on, I told them that I wasn't able to do the notarization.
Right.
And I was called everything but a child of God.
I was going to say that probably didn't go over too well. Probably not too well. You were not their best friend at that point.
Yeah. So I just picked up my coat and bag and walked out. And then I told the director of the facility what had happened. And I said, I can't do this in good conscience and for legal reasons. But, you called me, so I'm just telling you why I can't do this. They may ask you to call someone else. I don't know, but I just know it's not going to be me. So, and I want to explain to you why.
And the crazy thing about that is they will call somebody else.
Oh, yes.
And that's what's scary. That is what's scary. And that when one notary actually rejects it, and I'll give you a perfect example. There was a young girl. I know your audience is not necessarily of her age, but she came up with her mom. But she was buying a house on Facebook Marketplace. Who in the world buys a house on Facebook Marketplace? I know, right? And so she'd been talking with this person, and she went and got the deed herself and all this other stuff and drove 4 hours to come to Charlotte to sign the paperwork. And the sketchy individual who supposedly owned the home showed up on a bicycle smelling of alcohol and various other substances.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, whoa. What? And the very first thing he asks her, you got my money? What? We haven't even signed the paperwork yet. Whatever. That just went downhill very quickly. But I say all that to say that at the end of that, he made the comment, well, we'll just get another notary. Just let them go. We'll get another notary. And the sad thing is, yes, he will try. But at least I protected that girl at that point. And her mom came over and hugged my neck. I thought my head was going to pop off. She's like, I knew something wasn't right. And I'm like, tell your daughter not to buy things off Facebook, especially, property. Really?
Really? Yeah. Oh, that's wild.
It's like Facebook Realty or something. Who knows?
Well, with all that we have said in our short time, what is the most important thing listeners you think should remember about notaries, other than the fact that we're wonderful people?
Well, I would say probably the biggest thing is that we're here to protect you. We're here to help prevent you from being scammed. Not necessarily because we're armed or whatever with weapons. Our weapon is our stamp and our ability to be able to identify. I know, right? Ninja. So yeah, but if something feels off, we're going to say, well, those of us who do what we're supposed to do, we're going to say, nah, we're not going to do this notarization. This is not proper. But I would say probably the biggest thing is that we're here to protect the public, and we are the public's best friend. We have their interest at heart.
I agree. Wow. So Dennis, good Lord.
Not the first time I've been called that.
I have been all over the place today. I've been up since 7 this morning. My apologies, Dean.
You are fine. You are fine.
But what I wanted to share with my audience also is about your talent as a web designer. You are such a visionary. I tell you, I am just so overwhelmed. Dean is revamping my website, and There are a couple more little things we have to do. It may be debuted this weekend. I don't know yet, but whenever, it's fantastic. And I am just loving it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Oh, I just clicking on the first page, I'm just like.
And your logo
what?
too.
Yeah. And yes, you designed a new logo for me. And
yes,
I'm just like, wow, this man. But you guys, I know you won't have a chance to get to know him, but he is a phenomenal person. He is open, honest, and he loves his job just as much as I love being a notary too. Never thought about it that way in the beginning, but I go to workshops. In fact, I'm going to the National Notary Conference in May this year. And we just learned so much. Dean, are you presenting this again?
No, you mean
at the National Notary? National Notary.
I'm not making it to NNA because I'm actually part of the North Carolina Notary Association, and our conference is actually 2 weeks after that. And I'm teaching 5 classes at our conference this year,
oh my gosh,
May 14th, 15th, and 16th. So I'm going to be a little busy prepping and planning. And I'm also in charge of promotions and sponsorships and the program and everything else. So yeah, I'll be a little busy. But
you think you'll be a little busy?
Just a smidgen. Everybody talks about this thing called sleep, and I have no idea. I need to look it up and see what that is. It sounds fun.
Yeah. Well, I know my husband teased me the other day because I turned out I was in my pajamas the whole day. At 5 o'clock, he says, "Oh, you're still in your pajamas." I said, I guess I am. Well, that's okay. So I got to say one quick thing, Dean, before we leave. Thank you so much for being on. And then to my audience, join us for a live tribute concert to History of Funk and Parliament tomorrow night at 7:30 at the Columbia City Theater, and broadcasted on Rainier Avenue Radio, of course. Get your tickets now at columbiacitytheater.world. Dean, thank you. This time went by so fast. Man, I can't believe it.
Way too fast.
Yes, but we'll do it again sometime, I hope.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank you, my audience, my music man, and have a great weekend. Go Hawks, go 12s, be safe, and live your life like it's golden. Dean, talk to you soon.